Welcome everyone to the Black Family Day, Stockton Black Family Day panel on celebrating our men and looking at celebrating specifically our African American men in the community, kind of looking at the importance of the man and again specifically the African American male in the family and in society. And so to start this, we will again let you know who will be speaking to you. And so I will call your name, and if you can just give us a short bio, let us know. So we will start with Toussaint Stewart.
All right. Thank you, Brother Osman. It's a pleasure to be a part of Black Family Day. This tradition was very well received by my family when we first moved out here in 1986. And it's just a blessing to be here in 2020. First virtual Black Family Day. My name is Toussaint Haki Stewart, and I am a wellness practitioner here in Stockton, and I facilitate classes out of the Parks and Recs department. So you can look me up there. I'm also a plant-based wellness practitioner, so I'm vegan. I'm very concerned about the wellness of our Black men. I'm a father, I'm a husband. I'm also a high school PE teacher as well. And yeah, I love Stockton, and I look forward to making my contribution tonight on the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And we will go with Mr. Tariq Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you, everyone. I'm Tariq Muhammad, born and raised here in Stockton. Went through Stockton Unified School District, went to a historically Black college university, just taught abroad in the Dominican Republic for 2 years, teaching English, studied abroad for a year in Cuba. I'm bilingual, speak Spanish and English. I'm currently a high school teacher at Edison High School. I teach English language development and general ed English. And it's an honor to be on the panel. I've attended Black Family Days since I could breathe. And they've always been occasions I've looked forward to tremendously. And so it's an honor and a privilege to be a part of the very first virtual Black Family Day. And I'm honored and humbled to be asked to contribute on this illustrious panel.
Thank you very much, sir. And we will go to, I believe it's Dr., but Mr. Booker Guyton.
Good evening. My name is Reverend Booker T. Guyton. My family, my mother and father, and the family migrated to Stockton in 1955. I'm a product of the Stockton Unified School System, graduated from Edison High in 1963. Was a student body president. Was privileged to be a part of the early development of the experiences that came before Black Family Day. I was an instructor at San Joaquin Delta College, advisor to the Black Student Union, graduate of the University of Pacific, retired from San Joaquin Delta College in 2004, and I'm now a presiding elder in the African Methodist Episcopal Church.
Thank you very much, sir. And we will go to President Bobby Bivens.
Good evening, and thank you all for inviting me to participate, and I'm certainly honored. And as you said, my name is Bobby Bivens. I was born in San Bernardino, California. I went to school in San Bernardino, California, graduated from San Bernardino Valley College and the University of Redlands. I was married for 23 years. My first wife passed, and I met my current wife, LaWanna Bivens, and we've been married now for 28 years. So I can't, as I saying, I came here in 1992, shortly after we got married. I have 7 children. We have a blended family, and we don't use the word step in my house because nobody got stepped on. I didn't, they didn't, she didn't. So we don't break what the family is about. I've been the president of the Stockton branch in ACP off and on for 22 years. So I will leave it at that. And as I said, I have 7 children, I have 13 grandchildren, and I have 10 great-grandchildren. And I have the dubious honor of graduating from San Bernardino High School in 1963 and running against some of the fellows from Edison in the state track meet.
All right, all right.
Praise the Lord.
All right, and Mr. Frank Mopkins, would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
Gotta unmute himself.
You're on mute right now. Mr. Mopkins, you have to take yourself off mute.
Unmute.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, the host muting there. Can you
You're
hear me
fine
now?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. I am been in Stockton for 64 years. Lived in Ballstride. That's basically where I grew up at. And from there, I went to Sylvester, a little time in Conway in my early years. And also participated in some of the events in Stockton, start of Black Family Day, LA Day. Lately, I've been working at the airport for the last 10 years. I'm a certified airplane mechanic. I'm also a certified optician. I'm a paralegal. And I joined the group as Black Family Day as a volunteer and to be involved in the events in Stockton since we were short of men in Stockton and participated in these type of events as far as setting up and taking stuff down. And also for the last 29 years, I was incarcerated. And after the incarceration, I proceeded on to, for the last 10 years, 11 years, been residing in Stockton.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate you letting us know a little bit about you. It looks like we have one more person joining us. While we wait, I guess I should let everybody know a little bit about me. Yeah, my name is Osman Zarif, and I am been in Stockton since 1991. Married, 4 children, and 1 grandbaby, and 1 on the way. I am currently principal at Weber Institute in Stockton Unified. Also have Edison ties. All 4 of my children graduated from Edison. And I worked at Edison for 21 years as a math teacher, math coach, and assistant principal. Then 2 years at Franklin, and now again at Weber Institute. I am also president of Black Employees Association of Stockton Unified School District, and just feel like I'm a blessed man and appreciate the opportunity to serve my community and serve you all in this opportunity to host this Black Family Day. I want to ask Reverend Guyton, same question. How have you influenced your, as a man, how have you influenced your children?
Thank you. Really, we came up in an atypical family. I'm the product of a family of 9 boys, and my mother and father were both alive and prevalent in our experience. Unlike for many African Americans whose parents were, father figures were jailed or imprisoned, because you know the statistical lopside for black men being in prison as opposed to white folks. And so many Black families were without a father figure, and most of our social recreation programs, city support systems were all about trying to supplant that male figure. But in our family, we were blessed to have a strong father figure who lived into his 80s, Raymond Guyton Sr. My son is Booker Guyton, and he is the football coach at Edison High. And people have asked me from time to time, are you the football coach at Edison? I said, no, if I were coaching, it would be in forensics or speech, which was what my forte was. I played football, I made all city, but I didn't carry a football around into all of my classes as my son did. He was the one who was imprinted with football. I've tried to impress upon him and all of my children, male and female, the importance of the basic family structure and the fact that the family is the support system that will keep you alive in a racist society where the rules are not always going to be in your favor. And I'll forget when I was in speech at Edison, when I would go to speech tournaments and encounter racist judges, my dad would always say to me, that doesn't matter. You go back out and stay in the fight. You develop yourself, practice more, and sometime in the future it'll pay off, and it did. I neglected to mention that a part of my history is that I served 9 years on the Stockton Unified School Board and two years as its board president. So not only was I active in terms of trying to instill positive images for males, African-American males in high school, but I continued after high school and had that struggle with representation on the school board for 9 years, and I don't regret it. So I'll stop there.
All right, we will go on to the next question, and we will start with President Bivens and then go to Frank Mopkins for this question. And so this question is, what societal forces cause the man to play a minor role in the family and undermine its influence? So I'm gonna repeat that again. What societal forces cause the man to play a minor role in the family and undermine his influence? So President Bivens, you wanna start us with that one?
Yes, and actually I was hoping that you were gonna go to the bishop over there on the last question, because I was curious to hear what he had to say, but I'll answer this one for right now and follow the order that you're directing. The societal forces that have forced people men out of the fatherly role in many ways has to do with survival and economics. And when I say that, I'm speaking to the fact that from slavery to now, many Black men were not able to get jobs, have jobs, be able to financially take care of their family. And as a result of that, oftentimes went to the public support system, social services, the VA, and those type of places. Well, when you go to the folks that don't want to see you rise up or be a man or fear you doing that, then there's always a price that you're going to have to pay. If you take a check in your house each month and you don't have a job or any other source of revenue, then they're going to dictate the rules of your house, i.e., if you receive AFDC, the man cannot live in the house, the man cannot have clothes in the house, the man cannot visit whenever he wants to or spend the night with his family to show what a family structure looks like. Oftentimes, we find ourselves, or Black men find themselves, having to separate from the family for survival's sake. Or sometimes the role models that we see as young men, and I won't say necessarily as much now as when I was a teenager or when I was a young man, or even a young adult, in terms of what men dictated or showed you what manhood is about. You know, frequently, a lot of men presented themselves as quasi-players, folks that felt like they had to have multiple ladies in their relationships or in their lives, and not be that father, that solid father figure that is there for his children to really see, but also they had to go to work and be, quote, the financial bringer of money into the house. And so we bought into a lot of that many, many years ago, and unfortunately still today. If I go back to my hometown, there are some people that are living in the projects that lived in the projects when I was a kid, living there at 8 years old. And their families are still there, and they've been there generationally. That type of situation to me is slavery. That's one form of slavery. The fact that our Black men are being and have been incarcerated for doing things that white men get released to go home or get dropped off at home for gives our men long terms in prison. The prison institution has to have workers. And so by taking Black men off the street, putting them in the prisons, then workers are there for the institutions and the financial corporations that make money off of prisons. And also it breaks up the family structure. So when a young boy grows up and his father has been removed from the house and incarcerated and he has to go and visit him in that setting, it tears him up. One of my younger brothers went to prison. I went to see him a few times because it hurt so bad to have to walk away and leave him there, because what he went for, he wasn't guilty of other than trying to be slick in Orange County, California. Well, you also have to know where you are geographically and how the rules apply there. So society has deliberately set a system in place to make it easy for us to fall into the trap or cause conditions to have us drink or use drugs and not be at our mental capacity to survive and provide and live in the house with our family. So that's one of the major ways that society has impacted the relationship between the Black man and his family. And it started in slavery time. It didn't just start here. And when we come here and we were powerful, loving people and got separated and became people living in fear, that put a whole nother dynamic. So I'm not going to try to go through all that, but the reality is, I listened to these two young men talk about their fatherhood and the luxuries that they have. If Brother Guyton and I listen and know that when we were coming through, you didn't have this luxury. You didn't have those options, those benefits. And you said it, Tariq, you appreciate the fact that you have the freedom to do some things that we didn't have. So when I'm looking at young men coming along and they're wearing their pants down on their butt, I'm really unhappy. I'm really upset. But my son's friends, if they see me and they wear their pants like that, they pull them up and say, "How you doing, Mr. Bivens?" "Oh, I forgot. I'm glad to see you." But they pull their pants up because it's respect. And you have to respect yourself. And unfortunately, many of our young men today do not respect themselves or anyone else because they weren't taught to or trained to. So I'll leave it at that.
Right. And Mr. Mopkins, you want to give us a little wisdom on that also, sir?
Yes, I'll try to. But I would say from the economic point of view, that we have been conditioned to do just enough, meaning that you just get a job and not knowing that a forklift job only gets you so far. You're not going to own a home, basically, if you don't know how to save money, if you don't know how to spend money. So we have been conditioned mentally to say certain jobs, such as policemen, firemen, district attorneys, those jobs were not meant for Black people. You might be one of the lucky few to be an attorney to represent people. But certain jobs we go through school or in our neighborhoods, wherever, they're saying that, okay, these jobs are not for us. The jobs of, like he was speaking of, we say slave labor or just a laborer, those jobs are more we are likely to perform, construction, things of this nature. But if we are not conditioned to get ahead with these jobs, society keeps us boxed into a certain place. You also get into a place you want to be around your own people. You're afraid to venture out because, like he was saying, you want to be around people that look like you, that act like you. And sometimes when you do that, you can't get ahead because there's certain people that may look like you. Just say this, the four-star general that they had on TV the other day or on Facebook, the first thing the black people said was, it's a house Negro, you know the word I'm looking for though. And I said, this is what we applaud somebody for getting. Why are we saying this, especially during these times? But that's how we've been conditioned. And when a person gets into that field or that line of work, that they're doing something that goes against being black. Instead of saying, okay, you went to college, you didn't go for sports, but you went for academic purposes. You came out. Now we appreciate you being the doctor over here, or you went to a vocational school. Now you're a mechanic. Now we got a place to take our car and get some good mechanic work and not being taken advantage of. But we have been conditioned, like Bob was saying earlier, to be somehow nickel slick. If we get into a business, then we want to find an easy way to make more money. And in the long run, we lose. And we're not being taught that part of life. It's just saying in the long run, if this is how you do things, this is how you win. Because you say the forefathers or our ancestors or our relatives back in the day, they took the long road to get to where they were going. They had a harder push than we had to get ahead. And sometimes they never got ahead. They just maintained life to make sure we as a family had a better way of living. Nowadays, a person, when things get rough, they'll just move on. Instead of saying, let me just stay in here and then make things work. That's how we've been conditioned to say, okay, if it's not right here, I'll go someplace else and make it right. If I can't sit down with my woman and work things out, I'll just leave the family. And then that's what you showing the younger person in the house, whether it be a male or a female, this is how you do it. This is what's happening. So when that structure is there, or no structure is there, the kids don't know what to do when it comes up. So society, whether it be the last hired, the first fired, that's how they take us out of the box. When they brought the drugs in, the cocaine back in the days when blacks were getting ahead, there was a black push. People were getting on the city council. Like Booker was saying, board of education, it was a big push. They put the cocaine into the neighborhoods. They took everybody out with the superfly, mentality, but it was crack cocaine, it took everybody down. Now it's harder for blacks to get a job because you have the gang mentality. People get on the job and they feel like, okay, I can't take the lead position because everybody's gonna think I'm a snitch. If I gotta tell somebody to do your job or you're fired. So they have the wrong mentality. They've been taught that. Society keeps us over here. It's like saying a black man supposed to get on a job and be funny all the time. Or a black man is less than. So somebody has to teach you what to do. Instead of saying, I come up with these qualifications, I can do the job just as good as anybody else or even better. And we're not understanding that. So society has made us think that we still second-class citizens. And until we break that mold or break that cycle, this is where we're going to be stuck at for a very long time. Because if you look, just say Stockton in general, if you look at what we have that black people own that we can go to, you understand how we're not ownership of anything. We got 2 black liquor stores. We have no supermarkets. I can't think of any garages that we have. No, we got one downtown, the spot where you can go get your car fixed, and you also have Guyton. I think that's it. If you want to get tires changed, there's no place to get your tires changed. There's no tire shop. Things of this nature, but people say that's not important. It's important because it's a service for our people. Even with the bail bonds, you had a very few, but people was getting in trouble. You had somebody you can go to that can trust that will help your family member out. And now we have to go to somebody else. So when you lose your home or your car or your money, it goes to somebody else. It doesn't stay in that neighborhood. And even when the other thing was, it goes back to the day to where, or the saying, it takes a family to raise a village, or take a village to raise a family, excuse me. But the whole neighborhood knew what a person was doing. the whole neighborhood, if you got in trouble or seen you were doing something, they would call your mom or they would call your dad. And then, or they would discipline you themselves. They just like now, you can attest to when you go to school, if a person gets in trouble at school, instead of the parent going up there and chastising the kid, they want to chastise the teacher or saying something to their child. When we got in trouble in school, we got in trouble at school, then we got in trouble when we came home. So we knew not to get in trouble at school. That's the difference. See, society has dictated that now. It's like saying, you want to take the police out of the school, take the discipline out of the school, because who are they trying to affect? They trying to affect us, not knowing that education is so important. If you're gonna be a criminal, if you can't read or write, you're going down, period. But society is dictated to where, okay, let's make school fun. Okay, you make it fun, but you're forgetting about the education. Not taking anything away from medicine, but when some of the schools, when they had the football, they came out with the boom box and all, they made it fun, but they were winning. But they still made it fun. So sometimes people get the wrong idea. If we can't have the fun, we're not going to win. Not understanding the discipline, the coaches, what they were pushing to get through that. So sometimes society sends the wrong message that you can't be suave all the time and then win. Because they look at the record the way it is now, the guys, wearing the dreads, whether it's just a fashion right now, or the tattoos and everything else. But the point that they miss is that's a fashion, the tattoos and the dreads. But you don't take on the Jamaican attitude. You don't get with the weed. You don't disrespect the females. So society has allowed that to come in and flourish. And now we're a byproduct of that sometimes, because the people, now when you get into sports, they go back and they check your records. And they see, oh, way back here, you were kind of unruly. We don't need you. So it's hard to get into college nowadays.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, Reverend Guyton, would you like to provide some wisdom on that for us also, sir?
Yes, because I can hear many of the founders of Black Family Day screaming in their graves because this discussion is good. But Black Family Day was initiated because of the Black children were not hearing about their heritage in schools. And so they had to hear it on Black Family Day.
Yeah.
It is exciting that these young men are creating warm and fuzzy environments for their children that is positive in their homes. But what about the nightmare that is right outside the door of their homes? We are in 2020. A policeman just put his knee on a Black man's neck, and we saw him die on camera simply because he was a Black man in a racist society. And the president of these United States affirmed the murder of Mr. Ford. My daddy knew that no matter how supportive and what positive images he created for me in the home, there was danger outside of our home. And that danger was a systemically racist society that had a history in slavery. And so you've not only got to love your child in your home, you've got to put some armor on your child that when he goes out of that front door, once he reaches the level where he can go by himself, that he'll come home again. Because the slavery we talk about historically is still happening. I went to Edison High School years, and I graduated in 1963. Years after I graduated with my grandson, I met with his physics instructor to review what his grade circumstance was going to be. As I crossed the quad, I noticed that there was a group of Black and male and female students, and none of them had a book. None of them had a backpack. They didn't have a book anywhere in sight. So I asked my grandson's white teacher, why don't those kids have books? He said, well, we don't give them books because they throw them away. So we have to have handout sheets. And my thing is, this is the school that had a history of excellence in academics, not always for Black folks, because there was still miseducation going on. But like some of the persons on this panel, some of us were what we call public relations Negroes. We studied hard, we got good grades, and we managed to get through the system in spite of the system. So my thing is, I love it that these young men are creating psychologically positive environments for their children in their homes. But what about the nightmare that they're going to run into when they go outside of the home? When I was a senior in high school in '63, Harding Way was the Mason-Dixon line. If you were across Harding Way after dark, the police always pulled you over, and they always did the same thing. We have a report of somebody in a car just like yours. I was on my way to the library at the University of the Pacific, and I kept going back to the library, but I kept getting stopped because I crossed the Mason-Dixon line after dark. We need, I'm 75 years old. That happened then. But what I'm saying is, in my 75th year, I have witnessed the murder of a Black woman in her home, a mistake. The cops kick in the door and shoot her in her own home. She's studying to be an EMT and go on to higher work. And oh, we made a mistake. You are dead, but we made a mistake. Well, Black lives don't matter. And we can't talk about Black men in America without talking about Black Lives Matter. And so I'm not an angry young man. I just think at 75, I shouldn't have to be saying this message.
Amen.
You know, if you have a telephone, if you have a cell phone, if you have a laptop, you know what's going on in America every day. It has not stopped, and the president sanctions it. When he watched Charlotte and the Nazis and the Ku Kluxers marching with tiki poles of lanterns, and the president gets up and says, well, they're nice people. When does a group that has it as its calling card, the death of 6 million Jews, when are they nice people? But this is America 2020. Brother Bivens, the host of this talk, the two young men, you are gainfully employed. But there are thousands and thousands of Black men out there who have no job, who cannot feed their children, and many of them are incarcerated at a higher level than Anglo persons. So my thing is, I love you, but this is the reason Black Family Day started, because nobody was talking about the truth. Everybody was talking about fiction. And the fiction was, if you work hard, if you study hard, you'll have the same opportunity. The president thinks Kamala Harris is nasty because she's Black. He thinks she's nasty because she was an attorney general. He thinks she's nasty because she has more intelligence than he does.
Amen.
I'm sorry, but you know, I hear you, but you got to hear beyond what you're saying. We can't stop. There ain't gonna be no reparations because we're not billionaires. They give billionaires reparations.
All right.
But they're not gonna give us a dime. But if your child walks out, I don't care how much you love him, my daddy loved me. But if your child walks out your front door in white racist America, you better do more than just pray. You better arm him or her, not to be hateful or bitter, but with the truth of what's going on around them. You know, if you encountered the police out there, be humble until you can get back home, because we want you alive. We don't want you saying, Mama, I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Yes, sir. I just want to speak to what Senior Guyton was saying. It made me, you know, the nightmare that he was speaking of, that, you know, our people are experiencing on a daily basis and have experienced here in America for the last 400 years. It made me think of, you know, how this nightmare has been allowed to continue. And, you know, historically, the Black family has been the arch enemy of white supremacy.
Yes.
The Black family is the arch enemy of white supremacy. White supremacy has always tried to destroy the Black family. In slavery, it was very overt and very clear how they tried and did destroy the Black family. During the Civil Rights Movement, that whole era, the Black family was very strong. The Black family was very strong. And the Civil Rights Movement was empowered specifically financially by the Black family. The Civil Rights Movement didn't depend on outside money. The Civil Rights Movement was able to thrive and be independent primarily because of the Black family. The Black family is a very wealthy entity in reality. Trillions of dollars come through Black hands every year. And so this nightmare that we see, it continues because the Black family is so destroyed. And this has been a specific target of white supremacy, this government, since as long as we can remember. And specifically during the Civil Rights era, after the Civil Rights era, the Black family was targeted. We all know that factory jobs and good jobs that we were able to get during those time periods to take care of our family were taken out of the cities all over America, taken out of our neighborhoods. And then what came in behind it was drugs and guns, destroyed the Black family. And that was on purpose. That was intentional. That was a wickedly systematic plot on the Black family. And so this nightmare that we see, it individually, we can do nothing about it. As individual Black folks, we can do nothing about that nightmare, nothing substantial. We can, and I'm sure we all have young Black men, young Black women who we have mentored or whose lives we have changed individually. And those stories are great. I know plenty of young Black men, young Black women whose lives I've affected and who are better for it. However, I look out and this nightmare persists, and it's because us as a people, we are very, 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 very divided as a people. We have so many reasons why we don't unite. And our lack of unity as a people, our lack of collective, united self-determination and ambition to actually take control of our lives as Black people. We see things happening to us out here. We see this injustices by police. We see all of these disparities. Yet we are continuing to ask the same oppressor to change his behavior towards us. We are continuing to protest, continuing to march, continuing to ask the same enemy to change his behavior, as if that's going to happen. It hasn't happened in 400 years. Why should it change? And, as a people, there's enough. We don't need every single Black person. It doesn't take all 40+ million Black people to make a change in Black life.
And let me just help you a minute.
There are enough of us now.
Yeah,
There's enough.
But I want to share something with
Black people now
Yeah.
that can unite, pool each other's resources, and begin to take political power, begin to use their economic power to take some control, to take back the neighborhoods. There's enough property just in this city. If enough Black people had it in their mind, hey, let's go buy up a lot of these houses. Let's go buy up these properties. There's enough property just in this city and enough Black money in this city to actually go out and buy up this city. We even got a Black mayor with Black leadership. I mean, everything is on our side. We we don't take that extra step. It's almost like we want it to kind of just happen without putting in work. And I mean, I look at other races, you know.
Let me share something with you.
I know. I just want to
something
get the
with
point out, sir. You know,
I know. I hear your point. Let me share something with you.
Races as examples.
Yeah. But let me share something with you.
Chinese. When
Brother Ford was murdered.
I know. I just want to say something, bro. I just want to say something.
I know. I hear you.
Want to get my point out.
And I'm gonna continue. But when Brother Ford was murdered in Minneapolis.
One point. And then I'll let you say. Then I just want to say, we see the Chinaman, Indians, Arabs, they're not marching because
they're building.
They're building. They're getting economic power and utilizing. They're pooling their resources.
Okay, I hear your point.
They're not divided. We have a division issue.
When the protests broke out in Minneapolis, it was not just black people. There were white people. Brother Bivens talked about.
What is that? I don't understand what that point means. What does that mean?
The point means there were more white folks out there protesting than there were black people. So it's not just on black people. And my thing is that when Brother Bivens talked about having two fathers, I had two also. One was white. He was an instructor at Edison High School. His name was Donovan Cummings. I had a father at home who loved me and who struggled for me. And I had Donovan who encouraged me and made my gifts prominent in terms of forensic. So what I'm saying is, even white folks recognize the nightmare we're in, and more of them protested in Minneapolis than were black folks. Yeah, there were black folks out there.
Well, I mean, if it has taken,
all right, gentlemen,
taken up until 2020.
Okay,
if it's taken until 2020 for white people to recognize our nightmare, that's too late. And we can't expect, just because they're protesting. It's very fashionable to protest nowadays. It's almost like wearing a pair of Jordans. It's really cool to protest. What is the opposite of cool? What's more difficult to do is actually build, actually pull our resources together, actually acquire land, actually build businesses, actually build institutions so that we don't have to send our children to institutions that destroy them, but we can have our own institutions to build them up.
All right, so Mr. Muhammad, let's let Mr. Stewart, Mr. Stewart say something real quick, and then we're gonna move to the next question. Because yes, this is powerful conversation, and yes, these issues need to be addressed. I'm gonna have Mr. Stewart go, and then we're gonna have one kind of talk to how we kind of make a change ourselves. So go ahead, Mr. Stewart.
This is really quick. Senior Guyton, you know, I really appreciate the passion and the perspective that you're coming from. You've had a lot of experiences and you can see the big picture, but I just want to say, you know, I look at what happened to George Floyd as a public lynching. Black people have been getting lynched in this country ever since we came here. Now they just got it on video. So I encourage you not to allow. Now, it's nothing wrong with having compassion and empathy, but there have been thousands of George Floyds and thousands of Breonna Taylors. They just were not caught on film. Okay, I fully
agree with you.
All I'm saying is that let me just finish my point. Be careful with allowing the mass media and that dictator in the White House to dictate the energy that you circulate in your home. Because me and my son were on the platform that Oscar Grant was killed on 2 hours before it happened. And so I had to have a conversation with a 4.5-year-old boy about systemic racism. But I had the conversation with him. I didn't have him looking at the TV and the mass media, and I let him know that this has been happening since we got here. But we have been fighting. We have been organizing. Some of us have been falling for the okie doke. Some of us have been organizing. And so we have to really be careful. The energy.
And what I'm saying to you. That's exactly what I'm saying to you.
We have to be very careful because I have talked to my son all the time.
Reverend Guyton, let's let him finish his
ancestors. and about movements that have transpired and what you have to do. What is your role? He knows my role is to go into continuation high school.
You're not gonna be with him when he get out there.
All right.
And that's a good
Mr.
point.
Stewart,
That's a good point.
we can't hear you anymore.
That's a good point, Senior Guyton.
Mr.
We're
Muhammad,
not
hold on
gonna
for a
be
second.
with
He's
them.
still speaking, but we can't hear him.
We're not going to be with them when they go out in the world, and that's why. That's why we have to control. That's why we have to control their environment. As a father, I can't control how my son is going, how he expresses himself. But what I can control is the environment that he's going to express himself in. So I try to make sure he's in the most conducive environment for his free will. He's going to express himself how he wants, but I want to make sure that he's in the right environment. And so as a people, especially as men, as a family, we have to take control of our environment. And we can do it. Environment is the physical aspect of the universe. Land, property, air, water, energy, food. This is all our environment. We need to get control of it. We have to get control of the food.
We are over time.
Control of the land. We have to get control of the water. We have to get control of the property. Why can't we do this?
One of these days, dialogue.
We can't do this because we're not united. If we were united, we could get control of the land, the water, the air, the energy overnight. And then we won't have a problem sending our children into the world because we will have control and power and dominion over the world.
All right, so gentlemen, the thing is,
that's biblical. We are supposed to have power and dominion, but we don't have that. Somebody else has power and dominion over our world, and that someone is our oppressor, our opposition,
said to you,
white supremacy, our enemy.
Yeah. Let's go back to the.
So the thing is, again, this conversation was about the black man and the family, and again, the importance of the black man in the family. So yes, I think everybody is making definitely some valid points, and with Dr. Guyton, I totally agree that we have to look outside the family, and this, to an extent, war on black men and the black family. So again, the thing is tonight, this is and was, and we are way over time for this, about the importance of the black man in the family. And so what I want to do to kind of end this is, I think people talked about what's going on with them, and I'm got a wrong view. And we've answered the questions. And I think the people here too, for the most part, are doing things to kind of fight some of that systematic racism. I would say for me, that's a struggle in my job to ensure that I am not being an agent of the systematic racism, and instead fighting, that systematic racism, because education is a place where it is definitely alive and well. So what I will say is, can we, as our last question, just kind of say at least one or two things, what you are doing, and or some advice for some people to help improve the plight of the black man so that he can be a force in the family. So let's start with Mr. Stewart. And so again, let's keep this to 1 minute. We are way over time, and I know this is, passionate conversation, and we could keep going on forever, but we want to kind of wrap this up so we can give this back to Mrs. Floyd O'Connell, and she.
All right. I will keep it short and sweet, my brothers. I really feel like, what we really need to focus on in the community, among other things, is our wellness as black men. There are several black men in my family who died not even making it to 60 years old. And I feel like we need to learn that self-care is self-love. We need to learn how to take care of ourselves. We need to learn how to have a different relationship with plants, fruits and vegetables, and really begin to really address our wellness. Lifestyle disease and chronic illness is running rampant in our community. Stress, we need to learn how to take back our nervous system and take back our bodies through wellness. If we feel better, we think better, we do better. We can build from a solid foundation. But if you're sick, then you really can't build, because your wellness is the first sign of prosperity, your health, right? And so we need to focus on that for sure. And that's my lane. I'm a wellness practitioner, and you can look me up in Stockton. I'm ready to serve.
All right, thank you, sir. And yes, I know in looking at some statistics before this, we know that, yes, our lifespan is a lot less than people of other ethnicities. And I think that is something, yes, we got to make sure we are taking care of ourselves if we want to take care of others. Mr. Mopkins, you want to give us a couple of words, sir?
Yeah, to come to the importance of the black male being in the family, the black man, understand the difference. Everybody's born a male, but it takes a man to be a man. So knowing that, I would say in the family structure, know your role. If you're a father, be the father. If you're a grandpa, be the grandpa. If you're an uncle, be an uncle. Be there for your family in those active roles. So the key is to understand this is what that person, these roles are represented like this. So if you're there, you're a provider. If you show them how to provide, you show them that clothes don't make them in. If you go out and you do certain things that you constantly, you push, you're there to help people, not to harm people. And, you know, so when you're doing these things, this is what sums up the importance of the black male in the family, because otherwise, if you're not there to show the kids or whoever, this is what you do. And they're always sons, it's daughter, because if you got a daughter, a niece, then they need to know this is what a man does. You know, so this is what you need to look for in a man, and understanding those roles. This is how you push this forward.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Muhammad, go ahead. You got a minute, sir.
Yes, sir. So, you know, what I'm doing is strictly trying to empower myself, empower my family, empower my people, you know, through and how I see that happening. You know, we have to gain control over our reality. We have to gain control over our spiritual reality. We have to gain control over our social reality, political reality. We have to gain control over every aspect of a black reality. We have to gain control of the physical reality, especially. We have to gain control of land. We have to gain control of resources. You know, once we have land, once we have resources, once we pool our wealth together and operate as a unit, the nightmare will be over.
Yes.
Because we will control our reality. And so, you know, we have to set aside our differences as a people. We're a very diverse and complex people, but we are one people. You know, I look at America, there's Republicans and Democrats, but when it's time to go to war, it's just America. So, you know, they might fight, they might bicker, they might disagree, but when it's time to go to war, it's one America. They're going to war together as a united front. Black people, we might have philosophical differences. We might have religious differences, political differences. But when it comes to liberation and creating a better world for our children, we should be united around that, have that singular vision, aim, and purpose, and do what needs to be done, which is acquire resources, land, power, wealth, and use it to grow our people into perfection.
Thank you very much, sir. Reverend Guyton, got a minute, and then we'll go to Mr. President Bivens to end this for us.
On the 11th of September, I'll be retiring from active service in the ministry. I'm privileged to be able to have discourse with the young men on this panel tonight. I would just simply close by reminding you that early in the political atmosphere, the president held a rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Historically, Tulsa, Oklahoma was the Black Wall Street. Black people who were good businessmen, who were frugal, who were managing their resources. The Ku Klux and the local sheriff decided to destroy 300 of them. They bombed their neighborhoods, and these people were run out of town, and many of them murdered. Their property has not been restored to them, and nor have they received reparations. So that model that you mentioned about us being self-help, we have already experienced it. We're going to keep on experiencing it. but the nightmare of our history is still with us.
All right, thank you, sir. And President Bivens.
Okay, I want to say quickly, Mr. Mopkins is a man that did more when he was incarcerated for people in Stockton and around California than 99 and 9/10% of the people sitting in Stockton, men, women, whoever you want to say. I want to lay that out there first. He took care of folks in prison and outside of prison. When we talk about what we're doing, I spend most of my days going to school board meetings, city council meetings, board of supervisors meetings, meetings with my leadership team in the NACP, collaborating with other organizations, pushing for economic development, pushing for funds to come from city, county, and school districts into the hands of Black folks to build an economic base within the Black community. At none of those meetings, most often, are any Black men. There are only 2 Black men that consistently speak up in this city, Ralph White and Bobby Bivens. The rest of the folks are talking, but not walking. And I'm not humble or feeling bad when I say this, because the truth is the light and God loves the truth. So I will say that I invite all of you young men in particular to come on out here, learn the process, understand how things work, and start making the change. Like Reverend Guyton, I'm 75 years old. I don't feel like I ought to have to be out here. But because of knowledge, information, and love for my people, I stay out here. And for the record, I don't get paid to do this. I'm a volunteer president and have been in this city for 20-some years. I don't get paid a dime for what I do. So let's not philosophize, let's deliver. Thank you for the opportunity to participate. Happy 52nd anniversary of Black Family Day.
All right, and I want to thank you all for participating, and I will leave it with, like you said, I think we have to be the change we want to see. And I appreciate that everybody is, I mean, as we've heard, doing it in their lives, but I do hear President Bivens saying, let's take that a little further. You know, we got to take it outside, take it to City Hall, take it to all this. And yes, I understand, you know, we're protesting, we're doing our jobs, we are being those influences, but I know for me, and in the position, say it like I am as principal, you know, I was telling somebody, you know, I don't even know if I want this or if I want to move up. He said, it is important for us to increase our circle of influence. And so I think that's what he's saying too. We have to increase that circle of influence so that, yes,
at the table.
Yes, and so that we are improving the circumstances for the Black man who will, with that, be that Black man and that family making a difference. So thank you all, gentlemen. This has been a great conversation, and appreciate all the wisdom that you have brought and what you are doing in your lives at home and outside. And I want to say thank you very much.
Right on, Osman.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody on the panel. Thank you for your energy and your passion and the sparks and everything. It just shows that we need to continue this discussion. And I'd like to also thank the committee that kind of put this together, and that is Frank Mopkins, who is also a member of the panel, Tommy Muhammad, who is here looking in on you, and finding it very hard not to speak up, because he has also been out there speaking in one way or the other through theater or other ways, and that's what is that continues to be needed. Thank you so much. Keep talking the talk, keep walking the walk, and we're gonna get this done. Hopefully our children won't be here. My grandchildren, your children won't be at this stage when they're in